As they waltzed gracefully in the space between the booths, Mel stood behind the counter shaking his head and trying to maintain his scowl, but he couldn't hide the small, proud smile that played on his lips. His family, in all its strange, chaotic, and beautiful forms, had done it again. They had proven that it was never too late to take a chance to face the music and to step back onto the dance floor. Chapter 18, The Chili Cat. The diner had found its equilibrium. The trophies on the counter were a testament to past victories, the gentle hum of the after-lunch crowd, a soundtrack of present contentment. It was a rare and precious piece, which by the unwritten laws of the universe governing Mel's Diner meant it was about to be shattered. The agent of chaos arrived on a Tuesday night during a sudden, unseasonable Phoenix downpour. It was 5 minutes to closing, and Jolene was flipping the sign on the door to closed when a flash of movement near the entrance caught her eye. It wasn't a customer. It was a scrawny, soaking wet orange tabby cat who slipped through the closing door with the desperate speed of a fugitive. It stood just inside, shivering and letting out a meow that was less a sound and more a tiny, pathetic squeak of misery. Before anyone else could react, Vera had flown across the diner. "Oh, you poor thing," she cried, scooping the dripping creature into her arms and wrapping it in a clean dish towel. She held it close, murmuring comforting words as it trembled against her. Mel emerged from the kitchen, wiping his hands on his apron, his face a mask of pure horror. "What in the name of the health department is that?" he demanded, pointing a trembling finger at the bundle in Vera's arms. "He's just a poor, lost baby." Melvira pleaded, her eyes wide and wet with sympathy. "It's a rat with good publicity," Mel retorted. "It's fleas on 4 legs. It's a walking violation of every sanitation code known to man. Get it out of here, now." "But Mel, look at him," Jolene said, her voice soft. "We can't just throw him back out into that storm. He'll drown." "Just for tonight," Alice urged, seeing the battle was already lost. "He can sleep in a box in the storeroom. First thing in the morning, Vera will take him to the animal shelter. Promise." Mel looked from the pleading faces of his waitresses to the pathetic, shivering cat. He let out a long, agonized groan that was his version of a white flag. One night he growled, "And if I find one single flea in this establishment, the cost of the exterminator is coming out of all of your paychecks." The next morning the storm had passed, but the cat remained. Vera, it seemed, had conveniently forgotten to take him to the shelter on her way to work. She had, however, found the time to name him. "I'm calling him Chili," she announced happily, "because his fur is the color of your mild chili, Mel. Not the spicy kind." A clandestine operation to harbor the feline fugitive began. Chili was given a makeshift home in the storeroom, complete with a bed made from old aprons and a secret stash of food consisting of bacon bits and flaked tuna. For the next few days, the diner was a hotbed of near misses and comic tension. Mel would head to the storeroom for a can of peaches, and Vera would intercept him, launching into a long, distracting story about a dream she had while Jolene frantically tried to coax the cat back into its box. Earl complained one afternoon that his cheeseburger tasted faintly of fish. The most perilous moment came when Chili, bored with the storeroom, made a mad dash through the dining room. Alice, thinking fast, accidentally dropped an entire tray of glasses, creating a diversion so loud and shocking that no one noticed the small orange blur disappearing under a booth. The charade was unsustainable. The inevitable discovery happened on Friday. Mel, searching for a misplaced invoice, moved a 50-pound sack of flour in the storeroom and found Chili curled up on top of it, fast asleep and covered in a fine white dust, looking like a tiny furry ghost. Mel's roar of fury could be heard all the way down the block. "I knew it," he bellowed, storming into the dining room, holding the flour-dusted cat at arm's length as if it were a ticking bomb. He slammed it down on the counter in front of a terrified Vera. "This is it, Vera. The line has been drawn. That cat is out of this diner by closing time tonight. You can take it to the pound, you can adopt it, you can teach it to sing and enter it on a game show for all I care. But its career at Mel's Diner is over. It's me or the cat. Choose." The ultimatum was a devastating blow. Vera burst into tears. "I can't take him home. Elliot is terribly allergic. He sneezes if he even sees a cat on television," she sobbed. "And the city shelter is full. They told me they have to put animals down if they don't get adopted right away." She looked from the cat to Mel, her face a portrait of agony. She couldn't sacrifice her job, but she couldn't sentence this innocent creature to death. The diner was at an impasse. Mel was immovable, citing health codes and his absolute authority as owner. Vera was heartbroken and ready to quit. Alice and Jolene's attempts at diplomacy had failed. It seemed Chili's short, happy life at the diner was over. The solution came from the most unexpected of champions, Earl. He had been watching the entire saga unfold with his usual grumpy silence, but as he watched Vera sob, he put down his newspaper. He walked over to the counter and looked at the little cat who looked back at him with wide green eyes. Later that afternoon, when the diner was empty, Earl approached Mel. He didn't appeal to Mel's compassion, knowing it was a barren well. He appealed to his ego. "You know, Mel," Earl said, his voice casual, "I was just thinking. A diner cat, it's a classic, like a checkered tablecloth or a bottomless cup of coffee. It gives a place authenticity, character." He paused, letting the words sink in. People like a place with a story. That Best Ensemble award proved that. You could call him a mascot. Chili, the official chili cat of Mel's diner. It's good for business. It's memorable. Mel stood there pretending to wipe down a clean spot on the counter, but Alice could see him considering it. The logic was just twisted enough to appeal to him. It offered him a way to back down without admitting he had a heart. The next morning, Mel gathered his staff. "All right," he announced with the air of a king issuing a royal decree. "I've made an executive decision. For business reasons, only the cat can stay." A cheer went up, which he immediately silenced with a glare. But he continued, "He is not a pet. He is now an official employee of this diner. His title is Mascot and Chief of Rodent Patrol. His duties are to patrol for rodents and to look Mascotangent-like. He is to remain in the back areas during business hours. Is that understood?" It was a rule that was broken within the hour. By the end of the week, Chili the cat was not just an employee, he was royalty. He had a favorite stool at the counter. He had charmed every regular customer, and his preferred sleeping spot was the warm top of the new cash register. Late one night after everyone had gone home, Alice, who had forgotten her purse, quietly let herself back into the dark diner. There, illuminated by the soft glow of the streetlights, she saw Mel. He was standing by the counter, thinking he was alone. He was gently scratching Chili behind the ears, and as the cat purred, Mel broke off a piece of bacon he had saved from the grill and fed it to him. And on the face of the gruffest, toughest diner owner in Phoenix, there was a small, secret, undeniable smile. The family was complete. Chapter 19, The Outsider. The diner settled into a comfortable rhythm, a domestic harmony punctuated by the purr of its newest resident. Chili the cat had become the undisputed king of the counter, a furry, four-legged symbol of the diner's capacity for embracing the unexpected. Life was good. And it was this very goodness, this cozy, self-contained contentment of the diner family that laid the groundwork for the next most subtle and perhaps most difficult challenge they had yet to face. The challenge was named Marie, and she was ostensibly already part of the family. As Mel's longtime girlfriend, she was a frequent presence, a familiar face in a booth on a Saturday night. But lately, a shadow of discontent had begun to cloud her features. She would watch as Mel and Alice fell into an easy shorthand banter forged over years of shared crises, or as Earl leaned over the counter to tell Mel a story with the comfortable intimacy of a brother. She saw the effortless way Jolene and Vera included each other in their conversations, a seamless tapestry of shared history. And she saw Chili, the new king, hop off the counter and pointedly curl up on Vera's lap, ignoring the hand she had offered. Marie was present, but she was not a part of it. She was an outsider looking in. The breaking point was a small, seemingly insignificant event. A water pipe under the sink had burst on a busy Friday, flooding the kitchen floor. In the ensuing chaos, Mel's first instinctual phone call was not to Marie, but to Alice. Hyatt, get some extra towels from the storeroom, he had barked into the phone, and Alice had simply replied, on it, before heading to the diner on her day off. Marie had found out about the mini-disaster hours later when she'd called to see if their date night was still on. Oh yeah, that's canceled, Mel had said distractedly over the sounds of sloshing water and Vera's panicked yelps. The whole place is flooded. Alice is here, we're handling it. He hadn't meant for it to be cruel, but for Marie, the words were a confirmation of her deepest fear. In a crisis, she wasn't the first person he turned to. The diner was his real partner. His staff was his real family. A quiet determination took hold of Marie. If she couldn't break into the inner circle, she would create her own space within it. She launched a one-woman campaign to integrate herself into the fabric of Mel's diner, a campaign that was as well-intentioned as it was disastrous. She began by trying to improve the diner's aesthetic. She arrived one morning with a set of ruffled floral curtains she had sewn herself. They were lovely in a country cottage sort of way, and they clashed so violently with the diner's greasy spoon decor that the whole room seemed to cry out in protest. She then tried to upgrade the menu, suggesting to Mel that he add a kale smoothie. Mel looked at her as if she had suggested he start serving poison. Her attempts to befriend the waitresses were equally misguided. She invited them for a girls' night out to a sleek, minimalist wine bar where the chairs were uncomfortable and the prices were astronomical. Alice, Vera, and Jolene, more accustomed to a beer and a jukebox, spent the evening feeling awkward and out of place, making stilted conversation while Marie tried to force a bond that wasn't there. She was trying to pull them into her world, not understanding that to be a part of theirs, she had to enter it on its own chaotic terms. The tension simmered for a week before finally boiling over. It happened on a busy Saturday night. Marie, having spent the afternoon trying to teach Chili to fetch a pursuit the cat treated with utter disdain, was feeling particularly frustrated. She made a suggestion about reorganizing the coffee station, and Mel, stressed from the rush, snapped at her. "Just leave it, Marie. You're in the way." That was the final straw. In the way she repeated, her voice rising, drawing the attention of the entire diner. "Of course I'm in the way. I'm always in the way here." She turned on Mel, her face flushed with hurt and anger. "This isn't a restaurant, Mel. It's your clubhouse. A treehouse with a no girls allowed sign, and by girls, I mean me. These waitresses aren't your employees. They're your substitute wives, and your daughters, and your sisters. That grumpy old man at the counter is your best friend. And that cat," she pointed a trembling finger at Chili, who was calmly washing a paw, "that cat gets more affection than I do. Mel, when do I get to be the most important thing in your life?" The public painful words hung in the air. The diner fell into a mortified silence. Mel stood speechless and ashamed. And in a corner booth, Alice, Vera, and Jolene looked at each other with dawning horror, realizing that in the cozy warmth of their found family, they had inadvertently left someone out in the cold. The fight had been a necessary storm. It cleared the air and forced everyone to confront the uncomfortable truth. Mel, alone in his apartment that night, realized that Marie was right. He had compartmentalized his life, with the diner taking up every room, leaving only a small closet for her. He had taken her for granted, assuming she would always be there, waiting patiently on the periphery. The next afternoon, Alice went to see Marie. It was a visit born not of loyalty to Mel, but of empathy for another woman. "We're sorry," Alice said, simply sitting with her at her kitchen table. "We never meant to make you feel like an outsider. It's just, we're a strange, codependent little group. We've been through a lot together. It's not an excuse, but I think we forgot what it looks like from the outside." Alice's genuine apology was the bridge. Marie, in turn, let her own defenses down. "I know," she admitted, her voice soft. "I was just trying so hard to be a part of it that I ended up trying to change it. I was trying to turn Mel's Diner into a place that fit me instead of finding my place within it." That evening, Mel and Marie had the most honest conversation of their relationship. He apologized not with excuses, but with a sincere promise to do better. He instituted a new unbreakable rule, diner-free date night, one night a week, where neither the price of ground beef nor the quirks of his customers were allowed to be mentioned. Marie, for her part, stopped trying to invade the diner and instead began to visit it. She stopped seeing the waitresses as rivals and started seeing them as people. She discovered a shared love for old movies, with Alice bonded with Vera over their mutual inability to keep houseplants alive, and found a surprising rapport with Jolene over fashion magazines. She found her place not by forcing her way in, but by simply being there, letting the strange, chaotic magic of the diner work on her, until one day she looked around and realized she wasn't an outsider anymore. A few weeks later, on a Friday night, Marie was sitting in a booth sharing a plate of fries with Vera and Jolene, all three of them laughing hysterically at one of Earl's stories. Mel came out of the kitchen, a tray of burgers in his hands. He paused for a moment, watching the scene. He saw his girlfriend happy and at ease with his staff, who were her friends. He saw a complete integrated circle. He walked over to the table and smiled, a genuine, uncomplicated smile. Then he looked at his watch. "All right, Marie, time to go," he said, setting the tray down for Alice to handle. "It's 7 o'clock. Date night." He reached for her hand. "And according to the rules, you have exactly 10 seconds to finish telling me why Earl's story is so funny before this diner and everything in it is off limits for the rest of the night." She laughed, took his hand, and they walked out the door together, leaving the warm, bright, beautiful chaos behind them for the evening. The family hadn't been fractured. It had found a new, healthier, and more complete balance, finally making room for one more.